Hey, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been feeling like your brand needs a little love, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have just the tool you need. The Standout Brand Audit Bot is an AI-powered guided audit that shows you exactly what's working, what's not, and how to strengthen your brand using my proven Standout brand system. In 10 minutes or less, you'll walk away with clear next steps to move your brand forward with purpose. It's completely free. Just head to the show notes to grab the link and get started. Online service providers will spend their entire career asking, how do I get more clients? How do I get more visibility? How do I build my team larger? But what if the better question is, how do I build something that doesn't depend entirely on me or even at all on me? Today's guest, Carol Tice, built a community of 1,500 paying members, created recurring revenue through memberships and courses, and then eventually sold her entire business. In this episode, we're talking about the power of community building, what makes people stick around and keep paying month after month, and how to build a business valuable enough that someone else might want to buy it one day. If you've ever wondered what's next for you after this online business journey, and if there might be a path beyond constantly chasing the next client, you are going to really love this episode. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of two, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Six Figure Brand. I'm so excited to have Carol here with us today. She has so much knowledge to share with us about building her business, selling businesses, building community, and so much more. Carol, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I start out every episode by asking you to tell us your online business origin story. What were you doing before you started? How did you get here? And what are you doing today?
Once upon a time, I was a staff journalist and I had been a freelance writer. And then I got laid off and started freelancing again and started a blog about that journey. And blogs had kind of just started to happen. And as someone who was used to gatekeepers and editors, and the idea that I could just have my own publish button was like, woo, I'm in. And as I started to go at it, it was like taking more and more of my time. I loved doing it. And I was like, well, how can I monetize this? And I started trying different things. And eventually I joined a paid community for bloggers called the A-List Blogger Club. And as soon as I got in, I loved it. And I was like, there's nothing like this for freelance writers. And that would be, this would be really good. And then that kind of cogitated for a while. I ended up going to a convention, a Limit 100 online business convention in Chicago run by the late Liz Strauss from a successful online business blog, and came home from that very fired up, put the handle down and surveyed my people. What do you need? Found a tech person to put it up because back then there were no platforms that made it easy. And just 90 days later, like, it was up and going. And from there, it was just kind of always this like hobby gone mad, crazy thing. I just wanted writers to stop getting scammed and know what they were worth and charge enough and get raises and, make a real career out, a real living out of it, know how to negotiate a contract and stuff. All of things that I knew from my background, having been a legal secretary in antiquity at MGM and other entertainment places, and having been a business reporter covering business and seeing, companies operate. And I kind of brought that business discipline. It turned out there was a lot of need for that. It grew to 1,500 members. And at 1,000 members, I started getting approached about selling it. At the time, I was not that hot to sell it, but around the third time I got asked, I started to get intrigued and started to learn about. I was like, yeah, send me your term sheet, send me what I would have to fill out, to get this kind of thing going, and started learning about what I needed to change in my business to make it a saleable commodity. And then I ended up driving it to 1,500 members and selling in 2021.
That's amazing.
And yeah, for like real money, not bazillions, but like for me, life-changing money. I don't know. I was raised a working class person. And, if you have someone hand you multi six figures all at once, it changes things. And we bought an RV and we thought about selling our house, but we didn't. And our kids kept bouncing back home. And then we finally kind of pulled the plug and did it. And now I live in a van. And since 21, we've been full time for like 18 months and we love it. And we're out on the road for 5.5 months on this trip. And we'll be back in Seattle in May, which is our home base. And what I've been doing is ghostwriting books, but then I was drawn back into the world of community by a mentor of mine who was putting together a program to help people launch things. And that's how Community Growth Academy was born. And now I'm helping people basically follow in my footsteps, create a community that is a saleable asset because community is the best business model. And I'm just finding out that a lot of people don't even know it can be sold. They don't
Mhm.
even understand that they have something that could be of value to another person. So this is kind of my new passion project, helping people understand the value of what they're building in a community and how it could be sold and how to prepare for that process and survive it because it's a crazy process.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a story. Also, I did not know that you were from Seattle. I am also a native Seattleite. I'm in California now, but I get back
I'm
every so often.
the opposite for me. But I moved up there when I was like 35. I've almost been in Seattle longer than I lived in LA at this point.
Yeah, we love it up there. It's the best. It's also a great place to leave during the winter.
Exactly, exactly. It has actually been in the high 90s here the past week. So that's been
Yeah,
different for February for me.
yeah, I bet. So I want to talk first about the community building piece because I think you touched on so many things of like people don't realize one, that it's a great business model, two, that it's something that other people may want to buy from you. But I think the thing you did not talk about community is that I think there's a kind of like a 50-50 split of people that think, okay, I'm just going to start a community and I'll make $1 million and it will be really easy. And then there's also people that have no idea that's even a thing. And the real answer is somewhere in the middle. Starting a successful community is not that easy. It takes a lot of work. I think we think about community or starting a membership or whatever as like, oh, passive income. I'll just like do all the work on the front end and then I never have to touch it again and people will join and I'll make all this money every month. And that is not at all the case.
Definitely not my experience. It's more often you need to be constantly iterating new courses and things and events and
Yeah.
you're continuing to build value and the community gets more valuable over time. But yeah, let me go over the basics of why community rocks. I mean, I'm speaking as someone who did a little one-on-one coaching, got some results, did small group coaching, got some better results because they had each other to support each other and the 10 of
Mhm.
them, and then did community and got so much better results. So if you are someone who is trying to make an impact on the world, like I said, I kind of didn't just want to help some freelance writers make more money. I really wanted to elevate and change my industry. And
Mhm.
you can't do that coaching 12 people a year on $10,000 coaching packages. You could live a decent lifestyle, but you are not changing anything. You're just not talking to enough people. So I love that about community. Obviously, recurring revenue. It's so predictable. No more feast and famine like with consulting and coaching where a client contract ends and you're like, oh my God, and all of the feast and famine that people complain about in freelancing.
Yeah.
And at the time that I launched my first community, Freelance Writers Den, it was partly happening because my husband had developed a seizure disorder and we had just adopted that unexpected third child. And our birth mom had another baby. And yeah, so I really wanted to replace his income. And I would hear other freelance writers talking about having down months. And I was like, that cannot actually ever happen to me. That's not how my life works. My mortgage is due every month. I don't know about you, or how you're working that out.
Mhm.
I like reliable money and we just never had to worry for 12 years.
Yeah.
Money would come, would be coming, you know. And if it started to trend down, we would launch a new course, do a backdoor sale, you start to have a lot of levers of control of your revenue. You could take a whole bunch of your old calls with experts and bundle them into a sale, just sell them off the shelf to people who aren't members. You have all of these possible revenues. Let's launch a new course. It just becomes easy to control your finances in your life.
Yeah.
And so bigger impact, more reliable income, and just what else? That teaching, doing once and it helps people for eternity. The persistence of the materials. People literally 5 years after I've sold this thing are still hitting me on LinkedIn going, Carol, I just joined the den and I'm so excited. And I just took this class that's in there and it really helped me. And it's like, and I'm gone from there. And it is still helping people. So if you are interested in a legacy in, this long term, like what impact are you having on this world? This is just such a great format. And what's great is as you build it, you become less and less necessary. The thing is, every coaching, I go to their website and it's named their name coaching. And I just sort of want to cry a little for them because I know there's no escape. They have made themselves a job that whenever they want to stop doing it, you close the doors and that's the end. There is no way to hand this off to someone to get an exit to fill a retirement account. That's not happening. And you're working so hard and you're only selling hours. This allows you to get out of that selling hours. You can only charge so much to coaching one-to-many or teaching one-to-many. And that means you can use leverage. You make a recording or you have a live event or you create a course or whatever. And it doesn't just help one person. People can just keep paying for it over the years. So it's that ability to scale it like software as a service. That's why everyone, remember when, I don't know if you are old enough to remember buying boxes of software in stores and going home and installing them. And then next year buying the next year one and physically doing that. Again,
TurboTax. I still do that with TurboTax.
Now all of these things are software as a service because recurring revenue creates leverage. Now they don't have to print any software. They have no physical cost and the more people buy it, the more your profit goes up. That's all. It's you applying that model to your information business online. Yes. And it's freaking beautiful.
A big thing that you said that I want to really call out is you referred to it as recurring revenue rather than passive income. And I think that is the key to this. It is not passive. It's frankly a lot of work on the front end and still a lot of work to maintain because you have to build the thing, right? You have to talk to your people. This in your origin story of okay, I asked people, what do they want? How can I help them? Whatever. And then I built a thing around that, which is a really important piece. Ask people what they want before you build it. Don't build the thing you think they need. That's a recipe for a lot of wasted time.
It really is.
And then your task becomes, okay, I need to be enrolling new people and keeping the people who are in there
It's about
happy so that they stay.
Membership drives and retention. But I want to stop you at you have to be in there helping your people doing all the things because you actually don't. It is really up to you in community how much of you they're getting for how much.
Yes.
There are a lot of free membership communities on School where I am today. With my new community, that I don't think the owner of that community is visible to the free or the low tier level. I don't think you get much of them. Maybe you see them in the comments now and then, but all their coaching courses you want to unlock, it's all an upsell.
Yeah. Is your brand feeling a little off? Like your visuals, messaging, and your overall vibe just are not lining up with where your business is headed? You probably don't need another pretty logo. You actually need a solid strategy behind your brand. That's exactly what we'll build together inside the Standout Brand Strategy session, a one-on-one deep dive into your brand foundation so that you can finally show up with clarity, consistency, and confidence. And if you're thinking about working with Spect & Co. on branding or web design, this is your first step for every single project that we do together. Clients who have gone through this process have tripled their audience size, doubled their revenue, and raised their rates by 30% or more. Use the link in the show notes to book your session, and don't forget to enter code SFBPOD at checkout to save $100.
The thing about community is you can train people to do a lot of the work, and you can also get free help. Once you have a membership, that's something of value to that member, and you can do trade outs where you're like, hey, how about a free membership in exchange for spending a couple hours a week answering some forum questions, directing people to resources, telling them where to look for what.
Yeah.
And so we did some of that. I mean, eventually I had a staff of 10 paid people as well, but we had some volunteer moderation. I launched a community for a finance manager who does a contrarian form of investing that's kind of a lot to learn. And he is 80, first of all, and he travels a lot. Yeah, he goes on like month-long trips, 3-week-long
Good for
trips
him.
all the
I
time.
hope
I
I'm
know.
traveling a
He is
lot.
a fit, healthy guy. He's my idol. And he has, over the years, a few longtime clients of his from his investing business that he's sold now. And they come in and create the products that month if he's out. They answer forum questions if he's out. You can train people up and delegate things. And of course, you can delegate everything you hate doing. In my case,
Mhm.
all the tech back end, not my thing. And I'm a word person. I was a writer,
Yeah.
none of this technological stuff for me. Weirdly, I've now had two online businesses. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I had someone running the job board, a blog editor, community forum moderators, 2 admins. You can delegate the daylights out of this, and you
Mhm.
don't have to be the only expert in there, and you don't have to know all the things. You are a
Eh,
you are a convener of
yes.
people. Your magic is that you are bringing people on a similar journey together to support each other. And you can't, there were things where I was an expert and I taught on it. And there were other things that I was not the expert and I brought in somebody to teach a course. And the more you do that, the more saleable the business is because buyers see, oh, it's not Carol teaching everything. It was these other people also taught half the classes. So that means I also could find people to come do this. I could find another Carol. I could hire someone to
Mhm.
be the Carol of this. I guess
Yeah.
we all like to think we're very unique, but there's an extent to which you could get substitute teachers in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Yeah, for sure. And I would agree with you that I think it's more valuable for you to not be the only expert. In my membership, the Six Figure Brand Society, I am all about trying to teach people how to build like a holistic, sustainable six-figure brand. A big part of that is brand strategy, brand design, web design, which I am an expert in, but there's also sales and copy and marketing and social media and finances and mindset and all these other things which I cannot possibly be an expert in all of those,
Mm.
nor would I ever want to be. So I bring in an expert every month and they give a guest training about that thing. So I think that's also could be a deterrent for people of like, oh, well, I don't know enough or I can't teach all the things or whatever. Like you don't have to.
I
I
think
bet
that
you know people who
I
do.
think that kind of insecurity that, well, I don't know enough, definitely holds a lot of people back. And that is not a problem in a community setting. It is when you're a coach and you have to
Mhm.
have all the answers. And it's
Yeah.
not when it's a community setting. And the also brilliance of this model is it doesn't have to be either or. You still want to do high ticket coaching? Great.
Yeah.
Now you have a big pool of people who are getting to know you really well and falling in love with where you're coming from. And now it just got a whole lot easier to sell a $10,000 coaching package.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that is a great point. You mentioned upsells and stuff. Coaching doesn't have to be or I'm sorry, community does not have to be the only part of your business. I think that's a great way for people to get to know you and say, oh, wow, I really like Carol and I am willing to pay many $1,000s for some one-on-one time with her versus having coaching be your only offer. So it's either
Mhm.
nothing or $10,000 to somebody who I've not even had a conversation with yet.
And so community addresses the trust crisis
Yes.
that we're all talking about it, we're all seeing it, we're all doing it. I actually did like 6 grand of Facebook ads to get people onto my list to launch Community Growth Academy a year ago, and it converted zero.
Oof.
And yeah, I used a pro team. This is not me faking it on Facebook ads. This was a pro team that had sold many millions of dollars of courses online through this kind of funnel, nothing. And yeah, we've all reached the point where we're like, is this AI? Is this Russia? Is this a scam? We don't know what's going on the internet anymore. And community has only gotten more valuable.
Yeah.
in the past few years, that it is a place people get to know that you are legit and you're real, and they get to know you and they talk to you. I'm like, I hurt my knee a couple days ago paddleboarding on this lake. And, we all started talking about what rehab we're doing for
Yeah.
what. And you get to know each other on a deeply personal level, and you really
Mhm.
make lasting friendships. Last May, Morgan, my husband and I went to Europe, and I met with three former Den members
That's
from my
amazing.
original community, and they told me things like, "I still talk every week to the accountability buddy I found in your community." I mean, one of them lives in Paris now with her daughter. Her
Mm.
husband got cancer and died like the week that daughter was born.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, she has been to hell and back, and she is very well off, lives in one of the greatest cities in the world through the principles that she learned, and literally said to me, "You changed my life."
Yeah.
I'm getting
And
goosebumps.
what bigger impact could you hope to have than that? And I think to your
Yeah.
point too, when you have a really great community, those members bring in other members. I'm part of a like mom business owner community that I love.
Yes.
It's not a very big investment every month, and
Mhm.
I have met so many like friends and
Yes.
collaboration partners and whatever in there. And just literally this morning, I had somebody who I know from somewhere else message me and was like, "Hey, I saw that you're in this membership. Can you tell me about it? Do you like it?" And I sent them my referral link and was like, "Yeah, try it out for $20. Here's my link."
I'm so glad you brought that up, because if you, like me, loathe marketing and would rather be spending more of your time doing the thing that creates transformation for people and using your expertise to make the world a better place, you can turn your members into a sales engine when you have a community. And everyone, who has a clue, it does that, who operates community, and it is fabulous. I love it. I used to pay $10,000 a year to affiliates and loved doing it, because each one of those people is like found money. The half of that payment that you kept was found money of a person you was not in your network. You didn't know them, you know, and now they're in your community paying you money.
Yeah, and
And
I think
the lure is a lot of people who sell high ticket get affiliates who are motivated by that. Oh, I get 500 a sale. But the thing where they get paid every month, the people stay in. Once again, recurring revenue that attracts some people, get motivated by that idea that money will just keep rolling into them, and I love it.
Yeah, and I think too, like social proof or testimonials or like a recommendation from a friend is the best form of marketing. Like, I'm going to trust, frankly, what your member tells me about your membership 10 times more than I'm going to trust what you tell me about your membership. You have a vested interest in wanting more members, but they're
Right
recommending it
on.
from like a genuine place of being like, no, I really love this product. Like, I told that person that was asking about my mom's community, like, it's my favorite $75 I spend every month, and here's all the reasons
Right,
why.
right,
So,
absolutely.
for somebody who a lot of our listeners are like done for you service providers, like I'm a brand strategist and designer, some are copywriters, photographers, whatever. And I think a lot of them are part of communities they love, maybe have aspirations of creating their community, but get hung up on this like, but what should it be? How do I come up with an idea for a community? Do you have any advice around that?
Well, it's about audience building. What do people respond to when that you post in, where are you seeing unfilled needs where somebody might pay to stick, and it's a changing situation. You'll constantly be needing to give them new info. It's like if your industry is totally static and nothing's happening, you could create a course and stick it on Teachable and let people buy it, and you're set up a funnel to go to it and you're done. But freelance writing is a changing space, as you see with AI now more than ever. And so that makes you want to keep staying in, because you feel like you're staying on top of, the developments. You're not like, oh, I'm being left behind. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't necessarily begin with an idea that's in your head. It begins with what you see happening, what you see people saying to you, how people are reacting to what you're putting out there. And it makes wheels start turning in your head of like, oh, maybe there's a vacuum here. There's a need that's not being met in the marketplace. Like I said, when I got in A-List Blog Club and went, there's nothing like this for freelance writers right now. And there really needs to be. At this point, obviously, community is a lot more of a thing. There's a lot more of them out there. And in Community Growth Academy, we have people do a worksheet and look at what's already out there and look at their positioning of how they'll be different, what they see not happening. I'll give you a great example. One of my people launched a community for home remodelers to learn about marketing. And very niche. That was her writing niche. And what she found was that all the marketing was being done by the girl, the office, the sister of the remodeler, the college student they hire. It was all a lot of women were doing the marketing, and all of the people giving the trainings were guys. And she was like, I could give them a different kind of a space to learn this that they might relate to better. So that's what I'm talking about with positioning. You see something's not happening in the market or people are frustrated by something. This is how the tech bros start companies is they see a problem that is happening in the marketplace and they think they can come up with a thing that solves it. Taxis are dirty and not always available and expensive. And now we have Uber. You see something that could be done better than it's being done, and you think you have the expertise to do that thing. So my big tip would be look out at the world, look out at your marketplace and what you see people complaining about and what's going on and what are their problems. Because it ain't about you. It is about their problems. People are always asking me in community, go through the head of me. They're like, do you think I should do this or this? And I'm like, I don't know the answer. Your
Yeah, I'm
audience,
not.
you have to ask them.
Yeah.
I don't have a crystal ball and I'm not in your space. And that is how you find out. And every time we did a course, we'd be like, we're thinking about these 3 different course ideas. Which is the one you like? That's
Hmm.
the one we made. And we
Yeah.
never had a course lose money. So, every course did well and was profitable and went and was fine. So,
Yeah. And I mean, just anecdotally for myself, when I was new to business, I spent a lot of time building a DIY your logo course. And my thought was, okay, this will get people who are like new and can't afford to hire me to do their logo for them. So they'll DIY it. And then 2 things will happen. Either they'll succeed and then they'll like come back to me when they're ready for something more professional, which is great. Or they'll start doing it and they'll be like, oh, wow, this is really hard. I actually should hire Morgan. Neither of those things happened. I sold like 3 or 4 courses and then none of them ever converted into done for you services. And now I know that it's because I never asked people if that's something they actually want. I just was like, oh, you know what? I bet this would be helpful for them. And I was right. It would be helpful for them, but it's not something they were looking for or that they wanted to do.
it is amazing how many people want to launch a business idea without ever talking to a prospective customer. And it's because we love our idea and it's so beautiful and it's in a precious soap bubble
Hmm.
that we do not want to pop.
Yep.
And we want it to be grow up and be born and do great. And we don't want to hear that it ain't gonna. And I remember I was at a networking thing and a guy told me he was going to do this thing to coach kids and like the price tag was sky high. And I was just like, whoa, who do you think is going to go in at that price point? And he was like, no, it's totally going to work. They spend money for this and that. And like, I could tell he had never talked to a parent about the value that they would put on it. And yeah, that is how you learn how to price things too. That was in my pre-launch survey. What would you pay for this kind of a community? So yeah, it all plays into getting it to launch. Obviously, I launched the slow hard way with a blog I ran for a couple of years before I launched
Hmm.
and built, I want to say 700 people were blog subscribers when I launched. It wasn't even that big at that point.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think it was like 2,400 or 24,000, but they were highly engaged.
Yeah.
But you got to collect, a chunk of people who are interested in what you're doing. Or, yeah, you get that. I get 10 members and then nothing happens. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just don't know if you have that market alignment. And of course, that's going to matter on the back end when you're looking at selling too.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into talking about selling. So we now know, okay, you figure out your idea for your membership by talking to your people. And then we have a good idea of you've walked us through like how to build it and how to make it so that it's not reliant on us, which is great. How do we then go about selling our community? And I I think this applies not just to a community, right? You can sell any business if you do it the right
Yeah.
way. I could sell my branding and web design agency. I've
Yes.
not been
People
building
sell
my
agencies.
agency in a way
Yeah.
that is setting it up to sell, but that's a pivot I can make in the future if I decide. I think a lot of us get into, and I'm speaking for myself here as well, get into online business and we're like so excited about not having a 9 to 5 anymore and like being our own boss that we don't think past that. And then we're like, wait a second, but like, I don't want to do this forever. What's my end game? And
What's
we don't
the
have
end
one. And then we end
game?
up working forever. I am fortunate that my husband is in the military. So that's our end game. Like, I just got to get him to 20 years and then we're good. But
Right.
that's not the case for a lot of people. So,
But, you're going to want to live on more than that military pension. You're going to
yeah.
want to have more put away. Everyone forgets about how inflation will compound, though we're kind of getting a refresher in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We had not a lot of inflation for quite a while there, and I think people forgot that
Hmm.
inflation will happen. And yeah, in the future, when you retire, the price of everything will be so much more. And I was just reminiscing with someone about 15-cent thrifty ice cream cones of my childhood. And yeah, there's no ice cream that ain't $5 now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to think about that. And trust me, you need more money than you think you do. And so many creatives and online business people have absolutely no retirement plan. Their plan
Hmm.
is I'm working till I drop. And I'm here to tell you, kind of as someone who's on a little farther on the other end of that spectrum, that is not a thing. My 94-year-old dad cannot still be working. He can't see, can't hear. There is a point at which you are going to want to stop and just enjoy life and be out enjoying the world. And here's the thing about community. First of all, every Q&A you've given, every expert you posted, you have created an archive of valuable product. And that has a value. But most of all, the reason community is so rockin' for selling as an online business asset is the monthly recurring revenue. People who buy and sell online businesses have a major Jones for our monthly recurring revenue. They
Hmm.
love it. They want it much more than people who are, say, getting consulting contracts and it's coming and going. And it's harder for them to predict how that would work out once that person's out of the picture. And community gives a buyer a real chance to see that this could continue under their ownership. And yeah, they like monthly revenue, predictable revenue rolling in every month. And so there's a lot of interest around our kind of business just as a starting point. And as I said, I started to get asked and kind of started to become aware that I really could sell. And I started to learn about multiples. So businesses are sold for a multiple, usually not of gross revenue, which may be how you're thinking of your business, but net after expenses. What are you netting out of the business? And in my case, that I had a staff of 10, that those were two very different numbers. And I learned that my kind of business at that time was probably a 3 to 4x multiples of net. So what I saw on my tax form of, net income to me times 3.5 or so. And that's about how it ended up working out. So I did that math and saw that 1,000 members wasn't going to result in a number that I was going to like and that I needed to grow the business 50%. So that's the first thing. You start learning about multiples. What could this sell for? There's a lot of online marketplaces that you can poke around at, get a sense of what businesses like yours might be going for. There's a lot of tiny businesses on online market brokerages selling for tiny money. And it's because they haven't built a strong case for why it's a highly valuable business. And I think in many cases, yeah, the recurring revenue lack is a problem. And so what I learned in the process is how buyers think about our business. And it's very different from how a lot of us think of our business, which for me was like a fourth child. I loved it and took care of it and I paid all my people really good because I wanted them to be really happy and I didn't want to have to do a lot of hiring and firing, I had a great retention. And so they're not going to think about the business like you. They're like, what expenses can be cut? And the top question they're going to ask you is, how many hours a week do you work in the business? So, attention workaholics, as you approach sale, you are going to want to look at how many roles you can replace yourself on and how low you can get that number. They want to hear, I don't really have to do much. I just show up a few hours a week, and do a
Yeah.
few key things, and that's it. Because that's going to be them or someone they have to pay possibly a lot to do. And they want that to seem pretty minimal. And
Yeah.
the other thing is, as you go along on your following your muse, building your precious baby business you love, do you have an operations manual about how you do everything you do? Do you have job descriptions of every person who works for you? Do you have a complete breakdown? Are you doing monthly profit and loss statements about what you're netting. I wasn't. I was doing my taxes once a year and going, this is swell. I'm living in a 5-bedroom house on Lake Washington in Seattle, and this is giving us a great lifestyle. And I make more money than I ever dreamed I would make as a reporter. I wasn't sitting around going, oh, what's the cost of this and that? And what's it net each month? And so there was a lot of paperwork we needed to do. And the other big thing for me was that I actually hired a business consultant to look at my business. And she made the brilliant observation that over the years of running my business for 12 years, I had gotten kind of scattered. So I had started another co-LLC with another coach. So that was sometimes I was selling those classes. I had created an upsell inside Freelance Writers, and I had a small group coaching for mid-career writers. You're already making like 30, let's double your income, and and in many
Yeah.
cases double it again. And so I'm the coach of that, and that's going to go away. So the buyer doesn't, I'm like, look at all this revenue from this. That's nothing to them. That's going to
Yeah.
vanish. So that was a waste of my energy as someone prepping for sale. We put it in a box. I corsetized it and made it a self-serve thing you could go through on your own to make it a product and put it inside there. So I had a lot of stuff to do, and I'm here to tell you, like, no matter how many things you do, every single day of the sale process, they're going to ask you a question you don't know the answer to. Selling the business is a second full-time job. So you have to be, the more prepped you are, the less nightmarish that process is. They're coming at you every day. What is the lifetime value of each of your customers? What is, what is the average length of stay of a person who joins your community? All kind of metrics and statistics. This is how buyers think about business. It's just numbers to them. And they are going to want so many stats about how your business operates. We had worked out like none of those. We were just like, we keep getting more members and they stick around and the membership number has grown over years. Everything's great.
I do the thing, I make money. The end.
Yeah, I do the thing. It's paying my bills. Yeah. So buyers have a totally different mindset than that. They want stats. And the more of them you get in your hand before you start exploring the idea of buying, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I just, this is why I kind of have a passion around helping people sell and prep for sale now, is that I just sort of didn't have anyone explain to me. No one prepped me at all for what this process would be like, what they would want to know, all the things that would go wrong and stuff. And of course, while you're doing all that, you've got to keep revenue going up and looking
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
The business, you can't just like ignore your business while you do this for several months, because they're continuing to look at those monthly numbers going, what's happening? They want to buy a business that's growing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to say something that is relevant to starting the business and ending it, which is that these things have a moment in time. There's a moment where it's right. Like these things kind of have a timing. It's like sell no wine before it's time, that thing. And I sold at a great moment in the depths of COVID winter when a lot of people were getting laid off. And my joke is, when that happens, a quarter of those laid off people are going, I want to be a freelance writer now. I'm done working for the man. So it was really easy to get new members and to be growing at that time. It was also an incredibly bizarre and scary time to try and sell a business, but it looked good. The numbers looked great,
Yeah.
And the same when I started, and I was saying there's nothing quite like this out in the marketplace. And so it's like you want to think about sort of current events and what is going on in your space. And maybe this is a moment that something new is needed, or maybe this is a great moment to convince someone else that they would enjoy operating this business because you would like to ride off into the sunset. And
Yeah.
there is really a timing to it. And for a while, my husband was like, oh, we shouldn't have sold then, and we shouldn't have sold that. And, we should have waited. And it took a while for him to understand that we sold at an inflection point that was important for for the sector I was in.
Yeah.
Where it was a good time. And in the future, now it's AI, kill me now. I'm so happy I'm not having to teach anything about it.
Yeah.
It's not my interest. I'm not into it. And there's this whole feeling that a lot of people think, oh, this whole career is just going to collapse and there's not going to be any writing jobs. It's probably a lot harder to get members right now in that
Yeah.
community. So
Yeah. And to your point,
yeah.
you said you had been approached, what I think 3 times before you finally decided to sell. If you had just, somebody had waved some money in your face that first time and you were like, yeah, sure, done, like maybe you wouldn't have gotten as much money. Or if you had waited until, then maybe
later.
you would have
Yeah.
had no buyer. I think it's also a testament to what you built that you had people like beating down your door trying to buy your business and you weren't in a position where you were like, I can't do this anymore. I need to find somebody to buy this. I think the like energy at which you approach things like that makes a big difference, where if you're taking a business to the market and being like, somebody please buy this thing, is a lot different than
I'm
building
so glad
something
you
that is
said
so
that.
valuable other people recognize it and come to you.
I'm so glad you said this because, yeah, part of the art of selling is getting to the sale before you burn out and hate it and you don't care. And like if someone would give you 10 grand for it, you'd be like, yay, you just want to stop. And I saw that kind of coming at me down the road.
Yeah.
That, I mean, 12 years is a very long time. Most people
Yes.
do not run their communities anything like this long. And my kids were graduating. And I also had a sense of an ending that I had kind of taught everything I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't really have more that I hadn't coursified. It was all in there.
Yeah.
And it just kind of felt like it was time in terms of my life and career. And yeah, you want to get ahead of, okay, I'm burned out. I'm just walking away. I'm just letting it be a ghost town in the community. And, I'm not doing anything and because I just can't anymore. Like you
Yeah.
didn't delegate enough. You didn't pace yourself. You didn't do it sustainably. You worked 7 days a week, which I have never done. And yeah, people think you can't take days off in online business, but you can. All of my about pages say I ain't on Saturdays. I'll be back on Sunday to say hi. These are big problems that prevent you from having a lucrative sale, is that you don't stay aware and you don't learn about, yeah, what's a business like mine worth and
Mhm.
who should I trust as a broker to sell it? Because what's going to happen here is you're going to hand a chunk of non-refundable money likely to a business broker. I mean, some people do find their own buyer, but more often, you're going to hook up with a business broker who's a person who knows a lot of buyers and knows the process and is
Yeah.
going to help you make this happen. And for me, part of it was I found someone who I actually thought could sell my business, who wasn't just some whoever from some marketplace. He only did digital business. They'd been doing a long time, had a strong track record, just talking to them, take meetings with people, talk to them, feel them out, learn about how's this going to go? What do I need to pay when? What might I make? Just,
I
yeah,
mean,
don't get all excited the first person who says, "Oh, I want to buy your business," because that could be a mistake.
yeah. And I mean, it sounds honestly not too different than like when you're trying to sell a house. Like, you don't necessarily work with the first realtor that you talk to, and you probably don't take the first offer that somebody makes on your
Possibly
house. It's
so.
okay
Yes.
to like scrutinously vet people before you agree to anything.
I did only have one buyer on the hook. In your dreams, you have a bidding war.
Yeah.
But there were other people kind of lurking who were like, "Oh, we're busy now, but we could look at this in a couple of months." And I was like, "I don't want to wait a couple of months." At that
Yeah.
point, I was so far down the rabbit hole of selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, there's just it's such a complex dynamic, but so many people don't even think their business can be sold. I had a friend who, with just as much expertise as me, just close down her blog and close down her coaching and walk away with
Yeah.
nothing. Um,
Which is
yeah,
so sad. Like, you worked so hard to build, even if, I mean, in a perfect world, everyone would get $1 million for their business. But even if you get like just a little, like, 6 months worth of what you would have made, like, that's still worth it to me. That gives you like a runway to figure out what you're going to do next.
and if
It
someone gives you
also,
3 years of it, that gives you a pretty nice ramp in which to
Mhm.
stuff a retirement account and then think about what you want to be your next move,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
from your point of like, we treat our business like our babies, we do. And so do you really want to just like box it up and be like, okay, I'm done now? Or do you want to at least explore the idea of like maybe somebody else could take this and like breathe some new life
You
into
know,
it?
the whole process of the emotional side of this is a big deal, and I know people who coach only on that,
Mm.
on planning for who you will be, what will your identity be after you don't have this
Yeah.
anymore. And I
Just
mean,
like your kids leaving the nest.
yeah, and you're not the mom anymore, what will happen? There's a lot of emotional processing. And really, even if you're loving that you're selling, which I was certainly happy to do, there's a lot of kind of grief and loss that this phase of your life is over. There's a
Hmm.
lot, and you want the right partners on your team who can get you through not just all the stats they're going to ask you for, but like really the whole
Yeah.
emotional, mental process of wrapping up this phase and hopefully getting something that makes a great future for you.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. And on that note, having great partners and people to learn from in true entrepreneur fashion, you could not just grow a business and sell a business and ride off into the sunset like you liked. You started a new venture. So before we wrap up, tell us about what that new venture is and how we can work with you if we are starting to get curious about selling our own businesses.
Yeah, sure thing. I took everything I learned from thinking about the business to selling it and made it into courses that are inside Community Growth Academy on School. And it has a free level where you can come in and do the first worksheets and get feedback and get started thinking about this and building audience and doing the things. And it also has a free case study of chapter and verse on how I built and sold Freelance Writers 10 and overcame plateaus we hit and all of the problems and things, all the bumps in the road and how we dealt with them. And yeah, come on down. If you are interested in the community model, I would love to chat with you about your community idea.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, all those links will be in the show notes. I know you are also active on LinkedIn, so we'll throw that in the show notes so people can connect with you. Thank you so much for being here. I certainly learned a lot during our conversation. I know our audience will too. And I am excited about opening people's minds to the idea that maybe you're not going to sell next year, but maybe it's something to think about, 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So I think that's a great note for us to end on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.